And so we're having a wonderful study of Dogen's Tenzo Kyokan, Dogen's instructions for the cook. It's a way of learning not just how to cook our lives, but really how to savor our lives, how to move beyond our fixed ideas of what the path should be and step fully into and be actualized by the circumstances that are present. This is a challenge of study. It's a challenge of study. We read, we take notes, we hope to remember, and then we try to put it into practice. But really, practice isn't found in these words. Certainly not in these words alone. We have to embody it. We have to be actualized by the things we come in contact with, and that's not always easy. But when we actually allow ourselves to dance and to be danced, when we move past our discursive mind and more into our intuitive presence, then we begin to merge with the way. And something else becomes possible. We can open to something. There's a case in the Shōyōroku. It's called Ungan's Great Compassionate One. It's case 54. The case is attention. Ungan asked Dōgo, what does the Great Compassionate Bodhisattva do when she uses her manifold hands and eyes? Dōgo said, it's like a man who reaches behind him at night to search for his pillow. Ungan said, I understand. Dōgo said, what do you understand? Ungan said, all over the body are hands and eyes. Dōgo said, you've really said it. You've got 80% of it. Ungan said, elder brother, how about you? Dōgo replied, throughout the body are hands and eyes. It's a wonderful example of a mondo, clarifying the great matter by using words and concepts in contrast with one another, to at least see directionally where they're pointing, where we get stuck. This great compassionate bodhisattva they're talking about is Avalokiteśvara, the one who sees, who looks down upon, who sees the cries of the world. We could say that she manifests in us, right? But even that's still pointing too narrowly. You'll see her name chanted countless different times in countless different ways. Kanzeon, Guanyin, Kanon. Yeah? Each name echoing the same function. The one who perceives suffering and responds without hesitation, with no separation. Legend tells us that when Avalokiteśvara looked down and saw the suffering of the world, she was so burdened that her head split apart from the sheer weight of compassion that was caused by it. And Amitabha Buddha, seeing this, pieced her back together again. But not just with one head, with 9. And her wish to help all beings caused her to grow 1,000 arms, each with an eye in the palm. Eyes to see, hands to act. So here we have a couple of Dharma brothers, Ungan and Dōgo. Ungan was the teacher of Tozan, who will go on to found the Soto school. And in this exchange, we find an intimate pointing to the nature of compassion. Dōgo tells him, it's like a man reaching for his pillow in the dark. Yeah. What a wonderful picture of this. It's a beautiful image. We do it without thinking, without hesitation, without hands, without eyes, without needing to see. It's not bound by concepts or ideas, just as Avalokiteśvara moves freely, joins the dance of suffering and transforms it into with compassion into joy, it's not, so compassion here moves without calculation. It's like when you hold someone who's suffering, you don't need to consider it. You don't need to reckon with it. You don't need to consider what kind of suffering is worth responding to, or how much compassion you need to issue. You just hold. You just reach. Ungan hears this and says, "Oh, I understand." Understanding isn't always the best way of working with this. And Ungan responds, Dōgo presses him and says, "What is it that you understand? What do you do understand?" And Ungan says, "All over the body are hands and eyes." Not bad. Not bad at all, actually. But Dōgo isn't satisfied. You really said it. You're 80% there. Ungan's words point to why there's this deficit, right? Why only 80% is present. They're still framed with conceptual thinking, with taking our old karmic proclivities and dressing them up a little bit differently. All over the body still implies separation, still involves this karmic self that we've created. There's a body, and there are hands, but now there are eyes all over it. But Dōgo's final response shifts everything. Throughout the body are hands and eyes. The body itself has been transformed. Yeah. No separation, no attachment to a body as a central self or referential point. No division between seeing and acting. It's not that we have hands and eyes, rather the body itself is nothing but hands and eyes. There's no one doing compassion. Compassion is simply moving. It's moving unimpeded. This is where Avalokiteśvara is born anew. This is where she has her reign. Not as something extra. Finds her presence in the very nature of things themselves. When we cling to our small constructed self, we limit our capacity to respond. When we calculate, hesitate, and second guess, we get tangled up in ideas of worthiness, right action, consequences. But when we move beyond that, when we stop interfering, we function as the manifold hands and eyes. The manifold hands and eyes of the universe. But even that's too many words. Yeah? This is our body operating kind of as a practice fractal. Each time we look more closely, the pattern unfolds over and over again. Compassion moderates the karmic circumstances, and our nirmanakaya, our enlightenment body, appears. This is the big hour. Say, well, what's outside of that? There's no way of pointing to that. There's no way of expressing it. Everything we come in contact with, we're actualized by. This is why Dogen says in the Genjo Kon, to carry the self forward and to illuminate the myriad things is delusion. That myriad things come forth and illuminate the self is awakening. Compassion is not something we do. It's what we are. If you'll allow it. If you'll let go. Don't think of this as a teaching. Yeah. Appreciate it as a practice. We often think Zen is tied to a place or time, that it's steeped somehow in Japanese tradition, or Chinese tradition, or Indian tradition. And of course, this Dharma has traced its way throughout many ancient cultures and still bears some of the marks to them. And we celebrate them, of course. It also has a lot of American influence now. It's been here, it's been steeped in it, and it's made its way from here to Europe. Yeah. not tied to a place or time. It's always new. It's a practice that takes some time to master. It requires a very strong awareness of our karmic momentum. If you want to see your karmic momentum, just sit quietly and say, you'd like to speak to your inner cynic. Let that voice come forward. I promise you there, you'll see a lot of the things, the unspoken assumptions that you make. You'll see all the past hurts coming forward, and you'll see the one that withdraws and creates the gap. They'll tell you all about it. When we let go, the hand reaches for the pillow in the dark. It just moves. Compassion manifest. No hesitation. No calculation. Just this.